Hi, for this video what we are going to do is we are going to explore the TI-Nspire calculator just to kind of get familiar with it. If you've used this before, this video is not for you. This is just kind of a how-to, starting from scratch, kind of how to use this calculator, looking at some of the different things that you will find, the features. This is your home screen, your main screen. This is where you start from. Over here we have the scratch pad. The scratch pad doesn't allow you to use variables and different things that you may be working with in a spreadsheet. So I recommend always just opening a new document. You can always save your documents in your My Documents. So if you had something that you were working with and you wanted to save it, it's kind of like a computer where you have tabs and you can save things into different files. So like if you wanted to come back to it, maybe you're working with a data set that you're going to do other things with at a later time and you want to come back to it. 4, if you already have something that you're working with, this would be your current, what you're dealing with now. And then 5 allows you to change settings. Down here, these are just a shortcut for the different calculator screens. I will show you what each of them mean in just one second. So to get started, let's open a new document by selecting one. I am not going to save what I was working with, so I'm going to click no. And so here you can see all of the different things. If you notice the icons on the front, those were just the shortcut for here. This icon adds a calculator. This one adds a graph, geometry, the lists and spreadsheet tool. This is very, very useful in statistics. The data and statistics screen, this is your graphical displays that can be done. In other videos, I will show you more about how to use each of these. 6 is just a notes, like if you're taking notes on something, have formulas, things of that you're going to be working with, you can add notes. And then the last one, the Vernier Data Quest, you really need to have extra tools, but this is very helpful like in a classroom setting. If you have the tools, you can do different temperature measurements over time and you can graph it, you can do different things, you can record steps, you can record different things, so that is something that is helpful. For now, what we're going to do is just look at the calculator and some of the basics. So we're going to add a calculator screen. In here, this works just like a regular calculator. This is where you would do all of your calculations. Your trig functions would be here, your square root functions, the nth root, like if you have to take the cube root or the fifth root, you would just, any of these blue icons up here, you would hit the control button first before hitting them. So like if I wanted to do the square root of something, I would hit control and then this button, and then notice it adds the square root over here. So like if I wanted to take the square root of 9, we all know that that's 3, but just like I said, this is just kind of an intro into what all of these have. Down here you have your pi, you have I, infinity, so if you need some of these different symbols, this is where you would find it. The EE button, this is exponential notation, so if you wanted to put something into scientific notation, like 5 times 10 to the negative 5th power, you would use the EE button here. That's what your calculator would recognize it as. Here we have a keyboard so you can type everything in. Since it's not in QWERTY, you can use it on the SAT and the ACT. Over here we just have our number pad, multiplication, division, you can do fractions, there's all sorts of different things that you can have. One thing that I have noticed that some students get frustrated with is if they want a decimal approximation. Let's say that we have 9 over 35 and we wanted a decimal approximation and we hit enter. We notice that this does give it to us. So if we want the answer as a fraction, this is very nice because it will give it to you as a reduced fraction. There's nothing that 9 and 35 have in common. So let's say that we had 15 divided by 35 and we hit enter. It does reduce it for us, so we would have the 3/7. So if you are dealing with fractions, this is a nice thing. If you wanted a decimal approximation, let's say that, oh, I really wanted that to be a decimal approximation, I can hit up and enter to grab something. I could go back up several features. If you hit the control and the approximate, or control and enter, then it will give you a decimal approximation. If you want it to change it to where all of them give you a decimal approximation, you would hit the dock and you would go down into settings and status and you would change your document settings. In here, the float 6, this gives us 6 decimal places. If you wanted more or less, you could change it. Float would just change it to the maximum number. So if you wanted the maximum number of decimal places, you would just select that one. If you only wanted 1 decimal place, you would float to 1, etc. Under angle, this is where you would change it from radians to degrees. The calculation mode right here is if you wanted to always give you an approximate answer, you would just change your calculation mode to approximate and then just select OK. So now if I type in, let's say 15 divided by 45, it will give it to me as a decimal approximation instead of the calculator. And notice now, since I changed it to float, it does float it to more decimal places. So you have control over what you want, how many decimal places you want to see. Some other useful features on here is this button right here. This would allow you to put in matrices, summation notation, product notation, integrals, derivatives. So if you are dealing with those, if you got into something and you want to get out of it, you just hit the escape button. It would take you out of here. So really that's all I want to show. There is a lot of other things in here. The menu is probably your most important thing. This is where you would find different features. So like if you wanted to approximate to a fraction, you could go into here. There are different algebra features, calculus features, probability. If you're dealing with statistics, you will use this one a lot, the probability and the statistics features. So again, in later videos I will show you all of this, but everything can be found under the menu. And again, if you want to get out of things, just hit the escape button. Let's say we now wanted to graph something, and so in order to add a new screen, we just hit Control and I, and it will add a new screen. So we can come in, and now let's say that we wanted to add a graph. And so we wanted to graph, let's say that we wanted to graph the line 3 divided by 2x minus 3. And then if you hit enter, it will graph it for you, so you can see that it goes through -3, your slope rises 3, runs 2. You can do different features with this, like if you wanted to make a movable line, you can move this, and notice it does change the equation, so you can see that the slope doesn't change, but the y-intercept does, so you can do different things like this. You can also get it to grab it, so if you grab it, it's not wanting to... you can grab different things and move them. This is your label. You can get rid of those. If we wanted to add another thing, I can hit Control and G. And I can add a new equation. Let's say that maybe I wanted to see what the parabola x squared looked like. So I can just do x squared, maybe plus 2. And we want to see what that graph looks like. Hit enter. It now puts it in there in a different color so that you can see different things. On this screen, the menu feature is different. Again, I will go over more of these in different settings, but like if you wanted to change the windows, you could change the windows in here. You can trace different values. You can analyze the graph. There's a lot of different things that can be done. You can add a table. So if you wanted to see the table of values, you wanted to see where they were. So let's go ahead and click on that. And then we would just do the split screen. So this gives you your points for everything, so that way you can see what the points are. This is useful if you wanted to put it onto paper so you could see what points you want to plot. Okay. If you accidentally did something and you didn't want to do it, you can hit Control and Z, and it will undo the last thing that you did. So Control Z will undo any of the features that you just did. You made a mistake, you typed something in wrong, you didn't want to do something. I'm going to go ahead and go to another screen so that you can see. I don't want to make this too long. For number 3, this is a geometry. This is if you're in a geometry class and you're looking at different things, you want to do constructions. This one you probably won't use on a day-to-day basis as much, but it is very nice if you are having to deal with constructions and you need to make them look nice. You can do them in here. Again, to get out of things, just hit the escape button. And if you notice, every time that I do this, it adds a new tab at the top. It can start getting frustrating, so like if you wanted to see, like notice up here, I can go back and forth between tabs by clicking on them. I can also hit Control and the arrow button. I can do Control and the left, and it will take me to the next tab. If you hit Control up, it will allow you to see all of the different screens that you have. Let's say that I really didn't want this geometry screen. I can select it, and this is where I can delete it. I can hit delete and it gets rid of it. Maybe I really didn't want to do that. I can hit Control Z and it'll bring it back. So it's really, if you just do the Control plus, this is how I got to this screen. And so let's go back to the data and statistics. In here, it is important that you name your variables. So let's say that I wanted to name the test. You can add commands in here. You can make it different features. So you can put formulas in there. It's very useful. So let's say that we just put some points in here. I'm just going to put random points, nothing really in particular, just to have something for the next screen, because otherwise if we don't have something. So for this, I just put in 15 random points. The nice thing about here is when you name your variable in here, if you hit this var button, that stands for variables, on other screens, it will bring up, it'll show you the different variables. So I'll show you what I mean in just a second. So if I Control I and use the data and statistics screen, it will just randomly put dots in here. If you're working with two different things, you can add a variable this way. You can click to add a variable down here. I'm going to click to add a variable, and notice test is now there. Okay, it defaults to a dot plot. So right now it just did a dot plot for me. Under the menu, you can change this. Again, under your plot type, you can change it to a histogram. You can change it to a box plot. Let's just say that we wanted to do a box plot. It just nicely does it for us. You can go back and let's say that we wanted a histogram and stuff. And then, like I said, in later videos, I will show you how to adjust this. It will show you how many fall between 2 and 3. How many fall from 3 to 4. You can change these bin widths, and you can change all the settings on here. You can make it look like you want to. But I just wanted to show you the nice feature. You can change things over here, like you can change it to a different variable if you were dealing with something else. There's a lot of different features that you can do on this. Like I said, this is just kind of an intro with how to do things. As I said before, I'm really not going to go into the notes too much. Whoops, I'm still stuck on here, so let me escape out of here. On the notes page, this is something like if you're trying to keep track of things, maybe you are keeping track or you want to turn this in because you can upload this to your computer. Maybe you wanted to type in the midpoint formula or something like this, or you wanted to create a new variable, you can do that. So this is just a way to keep notes. And like I said, the last one, you really do need extra features for the 7th one, the Vernier. So you can always come back here to the home screen too and select. So like if I wanted to select this, it just takes longer. Like I said, this one does need other features in order to calculate or to gather the data. But it is nice if you have those other tools. Like I said, you can go back and forth between anything. You can save this. I'm not going to save this, but hopefully this just kind of helped give you a little more information on how to just kind of work the calculator for the first time. As always, thanks for watching.